Hi, and thanks for watching another instructional video for CSCI 1300. In this video, we will talk about functions in a little bit more detail. Specifically, we're going to talk about functions with different data types, different return values, and how to do functions without return values. So the first thing that we will cover is what is called a void function. A void function is a function that can take in parameters. However, its data type will be void instead of int or double or anything else. And what this means is that we will not actually return anything back to where it is called. So this will never have a value stored in the function call. What you can see here is that the void function can print things. It's very good for when you're doing greetings or you have to output a bunch of text and you don't want to clog up a section of your larger program or your main or whatever with a large block of text output. So if you wanted to just create a function to handle that specific area, or say you had to greet someone repetitively in a loop or something, you could print that at the top of the loop by calling the function whenever you needed the output that you desired. One thing to note here is that void functions do use returns. However, the return is not necessary for it to work correctly. What this does is it allows you to stop the program just like you would return a value from anything else, except it won't contain any actual value. So you can return and stop the program if you have some reason to do so using just return on a void function. So let's see that in action. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call print greeting and then show you how it happens when we output it. So we get the print greeting here, and this is coming from the fact that we call print greeting on line 18. We go up to the void function, we print hello world, and then we return back to main to the line where it was called on line 18. The next function that we're going to go over involves returning a value, and this function will be double data type. And notice that this data type here is declared as double. We've given it a name called division function or div function. It takes in two integers and it returns some output, which will be of double data type. You can see here that we're typecasting to make sure that we do get the correct value, because we do want to account for the fact that we are doing an integer divided by an integer. So integer division might cause a problem unless we make sure that we're storing our value correctly. So when this is called, notice that we have two values here in main called num and denom for numerator and denominator. And when we pass that, we're getting back a value of 0.5. So we're taking 5 divided by 10 and storing that into output and then returning that back to main. So when we call div function on line 22, we're storing the value of 0.5 into value once div function comes back and has a value that we can actually pull from it. Now, one thing to note here is that the order in which you pass things in your parentheses, so your parameter order, matters extremely. For that to be clear, let me just note what happens if we switch the order here. So if we call this function again, but this time we accidentally pass in the opposite order switching, what's going to happen here is that, let's see here. Oh, I need to declare a double value. So I'm going to set value up here. And now I'm going to call the function again, and I'm going to print the same thing again. But this time notice that we're getting an integer back because of the fact that we pass these in the wrong order. So the order does matter. It's still doing its job correctly, but we were expecting a double. We were expecting a fraction. And we got back a whole value because the order does matter, and we actually did 10 divided by 5, which is a whole value. That's all for functions for right now. Thanks, and happy coding.